Hello and welcome to a brief astrological overview for your time of Sun in Aries. This is March 20th through April 20th of 2015 by Gaia blooming. And we are kicking Aries off with such a bang. We are starting Aries right on the edge of a new moon solar eclipse. And a new moon is always a time of new beginnings. And a solar eclipse is really it's an intense time of beginnings and endings. And this is actually happening right at the last degree of Pisces, right before we shift into Aries. And if you check out the daily horoscopes, I've been talking about that edge where that new moon solar eclipse happens, being the place of the void. It's the place of creation. And then Aries, the energy of Aries comes in. First the moon shifts in, and then the sun moves in later in the day, later on March 20th, and ignites the energy from the void into action. I always compare Aries to the tarot card, the Fool, because Aries is just willing to dive in and like, hey, let's go for it. Kind of like the Fool. Fool is like, I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm just going to dive in. Aries is about igniting your passion. Aries is about beginning again in your I am vibration, wherever it is in your chart. It's different for everybody in their chart. That's why you should check out your horoscope video for your sun sign and your rising sign. But it always represents the I am vibration. Who are you? And then taking that initiative of who you are, taking the passion of who you are, and going with it. It's a sign of liberation and the warrior and the conqueror. Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is the god of war. But you know, that energy is the same energy that is poured into passion and action. And you know, Aries right now is a very interesting sign. Since 2011, Uranus has been in Aries and will be through 2018. So there's a revolution. Uranus is the energy of revolution. There's a revolution happening in Aries, and that revolution is happening in us as we figure out who we are and step up to that plate and bring that unique vibration. So that's just a little brief overview of Aries. During this time, Aries also kicks off the spring equinox. So we start to have the spring equinox. Welcome to spring, March 20th. Mercury will move into Aries on March 30th. So Mercury is the planet of our thinking, our mind. And in Aries, it will give us like those lightning fast thoughts and reactions to things. Very impulsive with our ideas. We may have an idea and be like, I'm going for it. I always think tune into your inner wisdom, but, you know, follow your flow as well. Mars will move out of his natal placement of Aries and into Taurus on March 31st. So that has kind of a more slow, easy feeling with Mars and Taurus, a little bit more sensual. Taurus loves sensuality, but Mars still takes action. So this will be a great time to take action on your value and your talents and your worth. That's happening March 30th. Or March 31st. We have a total lunar eclipse in Libra on April 4th at 5:01 a.m., by the way, Pacific. And this is always a time of major change. So we kicked off, you know, Aries with, you know, the solar eclipse, and then we're having this lunar eclipse. And this is where Earth's shadow comes in between the sun and the moon, and it always heralds major change. And I just want to mention that since 2013 and into 2016, our eclipse pattern have been in Libra and Aries, and this is helping us balance our self, our I am vibration with relationships in our life. So, you know, see how that's shifting relationship for you right now, having this lunar eclipse in Libra. And sometimes it can bring up that which is hidden. Allow yourself to see it with honesty and open eyes. And then with that, Jupiter is going direct a few days later. And Jupiter, speaking of looking at things honestly, Jupiter in Leo is helping us open our hearts. We need to open our hearts and begin to accept people for who they are. Whether or not they belong in our lives, whether or not we want that energy, we all are learning to open our hearts and learn the energy of acceptance and expansion. So, that is happening. Venus moves into Gemini April 11th. Venus in Gemini is very much a fun placement. It can be very flirtatious. It can also bring up indecision. You know, Gemini makes us realize that we're more than just this one personality. There are many personalities running around in here. And so Venus in Gemini can stir up some of that confusion with that. Tune into your heart that's, you know, just moved direct with Jupiter direct, and it can help guide you in the right direction for you. Mercury is then going to shift from Aries into Taurus, again, bringing up the sensuality. That's April 14th. And I think that's a time to make sure that you tune your mind into the earth, into the sensuality of the earth, ground your mind. And then finally, we have a new moon in Aries on April 18th, almost finishing up the Aries cycle. And so that is a time of intentions. And I think, you know, through these first almost month of Aries, we're going to really have found who we are, really worked on that I am vibration. So when that new moon comes, we're going to be ready with those intentions for the highest good of all. Anyways, that's a brief overview, but for more information, check out your sun and rising sign, and of course, check out the daily horoscopes for even more information on what's happening in the astro. I'll see you there. Namaste.